Good evening, everyone. Hi. So we're starting our next episode today, and the episode. Good evening, everyone. Hi. So we're starting our next episode today, and the episode. Today we're basically looking at creating assessments in the age of AI. What does this mean to you? How do you balance yourself in the classroom using AI? I want to hear some thoughts from you. Throughout the presentation, I'll be prompting you with some questions, and we can also look at all of them at the end of the session. So let's start it now. Let's see what happens. Now, this first question is very riveting. It basically asks, if AI writes the paper, are we measuring judgment, application, or just the prompt? So weigh in and tell me what your views are. So as we start, we just want for you to just relax. It's a conversation we're having, and we are trying to make sure that you understand that we are in it together. We meaning myself and you. When I started teaching 10 years ago, AI wasn't present. The traditional way of teaching was a paramount process where we used all things that we were taught into the classroom from teacher college. Now came the technology driven, the digital transformation. So now we're looking at how we have to pivot and change our lifestyle in terms of how this thing does. And trust me, it can be a daunting task. So many things are happening, so many moving parts. But as I said last week, you start small. You don't just do everything like everybody. You try to use tools that are somewhat familiar to you, so you can be able to be comfortable in the space. So today's presentation will be looking at various aspects of action strategies that you can be using in your classroom. We'll be looking more on the how to, the why, the how this is done, stuff like things. These are tested prompts, meaning I've done these in many workshops that I've actually created, and they have proven to be very useful. So let's go. Let's sit back. Let's get things going. So, as I said to you, my name is Suzette Morrison Curtis, and my name is on the screen. I'm your host. I'm the actual founder for this actual powerful channel, YouTube. It's called The Power of Teaching, at Power of Teaching. If you're following me, at Power of Teaching channel. It's over 2 years I've had this desire to put myself out there in the space. And to date, I have about 120 community members, and it's growing. And I'm blessed to have so many persons in my space. Today's podcast will be rescheduled on my channel. So if you missed it, you can always go back on my channel, on my playlist, the podcast playlist, and click on episode 4, and you will see the information. All right. So let's go. Let's start doing things. right, so let's go. Present, share screen. All right, so that's me. And today's podcast is it's basically stated, what can be done with AI? It's a good question. It's very good. What can be done with AI? I will be focusing on AI technologies with myself throughout this week, throughout the sessions. So let's go. This episode is creating assessments in the age of AI. Harnessing the power of generative AI in the classroom. It's a very relevant topic. What do we do in the AI enhanced classroom? So this quote I always start out with is very relevant. It's teaching with AI is about harnessing the future to inspire the present. It's something that I've found online, and I say it speaks volumes, because teaching with AI now is harnessing the future. You're basically preparing students for the future. So let's go. So AI is here. AI is everywhere, and it changes how students learn and demonstrate knowledge. It challenges the traditional assessments that we know. And one question I may ask, and I ask this for everyone: Are your current assessment truly measuring critical thinking, or just what AI can generate? Is it AI proof? That's a question that many persons, when I ask this, they say, "Oh, really?" In this session, I'll demonstrate how to design engaging and multi-layered assessment that ensure authentic student learning and utilizes some enhancement of and design process, so you can stay one step ahead of this educational evolving landscape. So the future of assessment is flipped. My question is, are you ready? So before we go into any of the details, my question out there, and it's a question that I ask everyone when I start a workshop: what is assessment and what does it mean to you? So I'm gonna write it for you to actually answer. You can leave your comments in the comments down below on my YouTube channel, and I'll get back to it. So what is assessment? And what does it mean to you? Wow. So this is the question I want to ask somebody. What is assessment, and I should say what it means to you? Let me take that down and edit it. So let's go. Let that riff in your head. Are your assessments AI vulnerable or AI resistant? That's the next question. Wow. Uh, when we come through this session, you'll be able to know if it is resistant or it is vulnerable. So the dawn of generative AI in education is something that is happening. So throughout this session, we'll develop AI enhanced curriculum content, meaning we'll look at some of the contents that you'd use. Build assessment with multi-layer challenge. We'll be actually putting some things together so you can be able to break them down in layers and try to apply practical strategies to foster academic integrity with AI. So I'll be looking at some of those fundamental process. So AI tools are increasingly capable of generating human-like responses. This is something that we know now. We can't get around it. The other day I was sitting on a webinar that CXC came across it, that they're now embracing the newness of what is happening in the sphere, and now they're put together a guideline because they know now that AI is there and now you must be guided on how to use it. So it's everywhere. So we can't hide it. So we have to be mindful that AI tools is increasingly capable of generating human-like responses. So many assessments that we create are now vulnerable to AI-generated content. Detection tools are often inaccurate and basically sometimes give a false positive. So therefore, we have to be more mindful of what it is that the students are using it for. So need to move beyond policing and focus on redesigning. So personalized learning assessments, basically looking at standard tests, personal assessment, why with AI, why we do this. We have to shift now. We have to shift from the one size fits all tailored evaluations that we are used to. And now look at what we are doing in a lens and say no, assessing individual student needs, learning styles, and pace more accurately. So this is the reason why I think CXC came about with their guidelines and saying, all right, students are using it, but this is how they need to do it. And now we have to pivot and change how we ask questions. And now give them guidelines to what it is that they need to use it for. With the personalizing assessments now, we can be able to foster deeper engagement and understanding. We can have an actual conversation now in the classroom with our students to foster more understanding of the elements of what they're learning. So example, generating multiple versions of quizzes on the same topic or providing automated feedback on grammar and structure for written assessments. So you normally use one content driven multiple choice to be able to assess certain things. Now you're going to have to change how you do that. And then provide feedback in a way that you can be able to state where they fell down. And now grammar and structure for written assessments now is required. When we do things, we have to craft a dynamic course material. So we're going to looking at now, how do we create engaging content? Meaningful materials with AI. How do we do this? So we're going to be looking at moving beyond a static resource to dynamic and adaptable content. What do I mean by this? You can make your content come alive by just doing simple prompts, simple things. Adding a video, adding an infographic in it, and making it come alive. And be able to speak to the students, speak to the audience. We are the students, and enlighten them and improve their learning capabilities in the classroom. In the next episode, which is coming very soon, I'll be showing you some of the tips and tricks and using one of my tools, which I will tell you within that, near to that time, how now you can be able to improve on what you're doing. Everybody is not a scholar. Everybody is not a creative artist. But you do what you do in your classroom and you try to make things work for you. So kudos to whatever process or tool you're using. Also, enhancing relevance and engagement for students. So generating diverse examples and scenarios for complex concepts. So you can be able to create dynamic course materials using scenarios that are relatable to the topic and use the AI to break them down in simpler terms so they can be able to understand. And most people know where I tell them you can look at different, you can ask the AI to be able to break it down in such a way that you can be able to tailor to all the facets of learning styles in your classroom. Why design must prevail? Question is very broad, and we have to look at it in every way. Some key facts that you need to look at: the sustainable responses in instructional redesign is basically not detection. Design assessment that limit AI usefulness. So you're going to be able to emphasize on ambiguity and open-ended reasoning. Require context, culture, and personal judgment. Foster original thinking rooted in lived experience. What do I mean by that? Further in the question in this presentation, I will show you one of the strategies that I've been advocating for. And also, you will need to look at what you call authentic assessment. Look at how the strength of authentic assessment can step in. Oral presentation. Let not just ask them to write down things, but let them express it in an presentation, given their experience in terms of what that solution meant to them. Now, this is a little resource that I shared the last training session that I did. Prompting like a boss. It's a cheat sheet that I found online from one of my LinkedIn persons on LinkedIn, as I think it's LinkedIn I got it on. Look at it carefully, guys. Tell me about climate change. That's just so vague. What do you see the difference now? Act as a climate policy analyst and give exact brief on climate change. 3 bullet causes, 3 bullet impacts, 2 novel mitigations. So you're going in specifics now. And if it gives you a wrong answer, then you can refine the answer, right? And when specifying tone, you have to tell it what you want. You have to make sure that you tell it. Rewrite in an HBR voice, strong verbs, short sentences, no fancy words. Keep the headings right and relevant. Summarize words, problems, insight, and benefit include word count. So these are some of the things that that you can use as well when you're creating your own course, not course assessment, but your course materials, and make things a little bit more different. In terms of setting the format, you can tell it what columns that you want it to do, fact checking to make sure that the things are from an authentic source. Now, when you're prompting, and I must give kudos to Sovrel, that's his YouTube channel, Professor Anders, who is one of my mentors, who I bought his book as well. He taught me, and this is one of the literatures that we went through in class, with how to prompt properly. So basically, prompting is in different styles and you have different levels. So the context must be something that you're going to be asking it to do in our environment. So then the task is what it is that you're going to ask it to do. The instruction must be specific and must be in such a way that it can be able to be relevant and understand where you're going with the conversation. Clarification must be given, and you ask it to refine itself. So as you see here, it's a pretty laid out prompt that basically asks the person to act as an advanced university AI writing tutor, use college level abilities to give usable feedback on how to improve writing composition, use your advanced experience in higher education and rhetorical knowledge dealing with effective writing techniques to suggest specific ways to best express thoughts, ideas through written form. Now, all of this, somebody may look at it and say, why must I learn all of this now? I'm in a classroom and it's so many work. Prompting is not just everybody's, I would say, cup of tea. You have to want to know learn the process to be able to be good at it. So take it in steps. What you want it to do is the context. Give it the task, exactly. You're acting as something. I want you to do this. I'm giving you specific instructions to get it done, and I'm going to clarify. And you can also ask it to give you clarifying questions to make sure that the information that it's giving you is up to a 95% accuracy. I can't say 100 because it's an instructional tool, and it's prone to have weaknesses and mistakes. Now, I got this from one of his blogs, sorrelpublishing.com. Sir Anders, I'm using your work again. So this is basically showing you how you can be able to use a continuum learning scale when you're using AI to create not just assessment, but to have the conversation with your students. So AI is only discussed in the classroom when it's not integrated. The instructor demonstrates AI use and shows the results. Then instructor provides the AI results to student work to modify it to improve it. Student uses AI only in classroom, in groups, or individual. And then student uses the AI for out of class in groups or individual, but only for some aspect of assigned work. Then it goes up to show you student use AI in groups or individual for any or all aspects of the assigned work. So in an instructional view, you have to ask some questions. Am I using the right balance of formative versus summative assessment to best hold students accountable for learning, or with or without AI? Am I doing that? Or is the essay writing the best assessment technique, or should I use something different or additional techniques like quizzes in class, oral presentation, students created videos, podcasts, posters, stuff like that? You have to ask yourself this question, because in the light of what is happening, you have to know, pivot and change how you're doing. So as we go along, there are some things that need to be addressed. And one of those things is this big thing called the Bloom's taxonomy, which was that if you have not known, is now revised to now accommodate this new norm. So the Bloom's taxonomy for AI resilient design, some key pointers that you need to know. This is my opinion, and I must say I've gotten information from relevant sources that this is a process of a pathway that if you try these steps, it will work. Not every context in terms of course outlines or course materials that require the level of cognitive skills that is going to be tested, but it's applicable. So prioritize upper level cognitive tasks like you're analyzing, you're evaluating, you're creating. Avoid surface level recall that AI can mimic. Lower level tasks like you're recalling, you find, are some things that we normally write when we're writing assessments. So we're going to have to shift away from those things. And they're all prone. They're all prone to it. So as we look at the more polished Bloom's taxonomy revisited, it looks at the different areas you're understanding, you're applying, you're analyzing, you're evaluating, you're creating. And it shows you how AI capabilities are now vested in it. So at the creating level, when using AI, it suggests a range of alternatives, enumerate potential drawbacks and advantages, and describe successful real-world cases. The distinctive human skills that are needed is to form an original solution incorporating human judgment, collaborating, and spontaneity. You have to do things a little bit different now in your classroom. You have to know that it is there, and you're going to be asking them a little bit more than just define. You have to ask them to create something, to give their analytical review on something, right? Evaluate now, identifying pros and cons of various courses of action and develop rubrics. So, we're going to be looking at reflective engagement with the student, alternative course of action, consequences, that thing, type of thing. So these type of changes comes with a lot of process knowledge. So this is out there in the world, in the big public. So you can take it down and look at it in your own time. Now, this is an example of a redesign work. Instead of you summarizing this article, that's what you're going to ask them to do. Ask them to evaluate multiple perspectives in this article and propose a new framework. So now you're asking them to think outside of the box. The outcome is that AI struggles at some time and students think critically. Now they're going to have to think about what it is that they're going to put in the tool to get the feedback or the outcome that is required based on the instruction. So you have to pitch it a little bit higher. Now, when you're designing a multi-layered assessment, you have to look at building a scaffolding task that challenge deeper thinking. Using AI to assist you in sequencing tasks across levels of complexity. So you can be able to ask it to, when you're writing, so for instance, your essay, your essay type questions, you can tell it to be in a scenario mode, scaffolding the desired task at the higher level of the taxonomy that will push more critical thinking and problem solving, right? You can integrate questions that require synthesis and justification. If they give the solution, they must state why. Why was this the best fit? Why was this framework used? Mr. Anders again, sir. Your work has inspired me, so I'm still using your work, sir. So the Bloom's revised taxonomy and AI was one of his things that he taught us in this course. The higher order, which is you evaluate, you analyze, and you create. In your lower orders, you apply, understand, and remember. All of us know this. So if you even pitch it in between, you still can be able to try and get them to think critically. But as I said to you before, not all course outlines, not all deliverables, not all course materials are pitched at this level. So we have to be mindful of the context and the environment that we actually operate in. But as I said, it's applicable and you can be able to use the knowledge and work through the process. Based on the redesigning of an assessment, you can look at strong and more authentic assessment to increase the rigor and realism of the assignment, to better match the real world while also grounding with original in-class information and experience. So while you give them the information to go and research, they need to come up with real-world scenarios that best fit the question. So you're going to have essay versus report versus blog, or article versus case study versus other. Now, the data used for the assignment or assessment also based on your in-class events. So once they have come up with the research topic and they have gotten they went through the research and they've looked at the scenarios and they have the best fit solution, they're going to have to come back to class now, present it before their peers and get some evaluation done. And then based on that, that's an in-class event, handouts that you're giving are used to be able to expound on the assessment that is needed. You can also use guest speakers. Based on what the speaker said, you'll be able to ask them to evaluate, do some research on the topic, and come back and give their own view on what it is. Look for original case studies that be able to mimic what it is that they learned in that session. Now, students would write out their critical review of their and the feedback as in the process, what was learned and how they have experienced it. And then you can be able to use further engagement in the process of what was learned and why. How this session improve your knowledge of the topic? When they respond to that, ask them now to to provide a framework or an analysis of that particular solution and how it has impacted them. Now, that calls for a little more than just writing. Although AI can be used to answer this question, it still is a valuable self-development process, and they still need to look and reflect on it. And it can be done in class or now we've put all things together. You're using your prompt, context tags, instruction, clarification, and refinement. Those are the things that are the student learning outcomes are basically looked at. Assessment strategies, your instructional strategies in terms of how you can be able to pull them together to have the awareness, knowledge, and capability, and the creative critical thinking of the actual person. Now, this part I tend to come to because now project-based learning is something that I'm looking at, where you're going to be giving questions to your students. Based on the question, they will be able to set the context. Now they're going to be asked to go and research it, prepare a reflection, and then be able to share it orally in the classroom. So these steps for them to do is basically have them thinking. So with getting this up as a part of your redesigning of your AI, of your assessment, I should say, could be a stepping stone in terms of creating a different view of what it is. And as I said, not all courses are able to be pitched for project-based learning, but you can be able to put it in a scenario that be able to mimic or replicate the core elements of the project-based learning initiative. Some things that you have to understand, though, you have to understand how AI concepts and applications work. You have to know how to critically think and evaluate information and how it makes the decision. Data literacy is a profound process that all educators should be aware of. And collaborating, working effectively in teams. Persons that know these, you can be able to form a group. So you can be able to adapt well in the environment. Also, the ethical standards must be adhered to. So you need to address the ethical challenges of AI. Hallucination bias, one of those two, over-reliance. Those are some of the prevalent ones that came out. Now, in this video, and I must say, I chose using EduAid as one of the tools of the week is because it gives you a myriad of ways to be able to structure yourself. Lesson planning, evidence statements, assessment measures, engagement activities, the list goes on. Project-based learning planner, lesson planning. So this little tool here can be able to expand how you create and your course material along with your assessment materials in your classroom. So let's take a look. So it basically, you sign up like you normally do with any other application, and you go through using your email account. Once you sign in, you get a dashboard looking like what is on screen here. and you can be able to go through. Now it gives you a 13-step navigation of what it is that it comes up with. So resource categories in terms of your questions that you'll be able to create. That's what the tab is for. Also, it gives you evidence assessment. So in terms of you creating assessments for your class and in course, you can be able to do it with using that. Educational resources, you can also add documents, activity sheets to your course materials as well for different topics. So it doesn't have to be just one in various topics. You can add a website, you can add different topics to the document, different website resources to make it a little, improved on, and also give it a different diversement in terms of your learning capabilities of your students. Also, it gives you other materials that you can be able to look at in terms of your topics, resources. So in grade selector, you can be able to manage all of that. So it's a good little tool to have, and you can be able to go through. I'll provide a link for EduAid in my description, so you can be able to go over and look at it. So in class strategies now, this is the point where most people look at and say, all right, what am I going to use the AI to do? So you can basically use AI to use case-based or project-driven tasks, as I discussed before, as one of your strategies to kind of shift how you do things, right? Include personal reflection and decision justification. Avoid AI replicated question format. Don't just use the same format all times. These things are predictable. So you have to put some more thought into it. Now let's look at how AI works creating content. Now, I know most people who are online and who are going to be watching this video at any time have already gone through myriads of ways to create quizzes, lesson plans, course materials. So this is you have different ways of doing it. Let's look at one way. Now, creating a quiz using the AI. So basically, your prompt is very specific. You're going to create a multiple choice quiz on the following subject area. You give it the subject area. Ensure the content is balanced. Do not use vague words. So you don't want it to use what, which, why too many times. And look at what you tell it to do at the middle order of the blooms. So it gives them not going to be providing the where to define what is anymore. It's now going to be doing things a little bit different. So they're going to have to be thinking when they're answering the question. So let's see how it created it. And it also gives you back the answers each time. So once you provide the prompt, and I'm going to show you about the prompt right now. Let me go back. Oh, one more. This is the prompt. Here. You want me to zoom in? I will. So that's it. It's very well built. Bloom's order taxonomy. We always have to go back to that to make sure that we ground everything. And then you tell it not to have vague words, and you can be able to expound on this more. I'll show our next example. Now this one is a little bit different. Why so? I've used a different tool, which is this was used. This is perplexity. Yeah, where basically you're going to be rewriting a drama extract. So this is for the visual arts type of question assessment. So right at the top here is the prompt. So it basically asks you to write a drama comprehension test for a grade 9. Can be applied to any level whose first language is not English, but is an English ESL student. The test should consist of 20 short answers, supply questions of all levels of the blood taxonomy. It should assess the student's knowledge and understanding of the element, features, and techniques of drama. So now this is more about a shift. So now you're telling it what to do. And when you're using Perplexity, it gives you the where they got their resources from in terms of how the design is done. And here it is. So you can be able to rewrite. Questions are done in the different aspects. And also, it gives you props too. If you're somebody that teaches the visual arts, it also can be done. Do that as well. So you see the creation of assessments can be in a various means, not just technology based. It can be visual, can be communication, it can be any subject. It's applicable. What else? Somebody may ask, what else? What additional capabilities does AI possess for me? It possesses more. So this was taken from Course Hero. They gave, when I attended a webinar, they gave us a assessment guide to use to actually aid us in creating meaningful assessment for our classroom. So now, the context for this is basically, for this activity, the teachers use AI to help redesign a course. Now, the instruction is pretty simple. For you to determine the key components of the actual course you're developing, come up with a general idea of what you want your learning objectives and core content to do. So you can be able to use AI to redevelop courses that you have already. If you're redesigning the course, provide the AI tool with the syllabus or the course outline, lesson plans or rubrics from which the initial course will be delivered. Then ask it to recreate the materials using your new learning objectives or parameters. If you're developing a new course, share the learning objective with the AI tool and prompt it to create things like modules, discussion forums, paper ideas, and rubrics. So it's not just a generator of helping you to create assessment and course materials. It can help you to improve course deliveries, course materials, and also courses, redesigning of courses as well. You have to be mindful of these aspects too. The suggest modules, provide a learning objective for these modules. Write discussion prompts, provide your learning objectives or content you want students to discuss. Brainstorm paper ideas. For that, you'll need to provide an overarching topic or objective and ask the AI to brainstorm writing assignments for them. And it can also break it down even more to ask it to provide the differentiative techniques, teaching techniques that you can be able to apply to your different type of learners in your classroom. Also, it can be able to write quiz questions, what it needs to be covered based on the materials that you're going to be redesigning. It also can create quizzes. And these are some of the actual suggested prompts that you can use. Some persons, these are just like in-class quizzes because we don't really use fill in the blanks anymore. You can give it a topic and ask it to create those questions around the topic based on the parameters that you want the students to be able to cover, and it will do it for you. Now, some points that I want you to understand. When you're using AI, you'll be able to learn these as you go along. Not mine. Got it from one of my colleagues that I actually follow on LinkedIn. So some 12 important AI skills for teachers. So you have problem solving, you have critical thinking. So the problem solving is just basically using the tool. Let me just show it up a little bit. Yeah. So it's just using the tool to identify challenges, explore solutions, and support decision making in teaching and learning. So it basically works with critical thinking, relevance and accuracy and usefulness of the actual information, collaboration, ethical awareness. You can use it to basically find challenges, explore solutions, and support decision making in teaching and learning. So the tool can be used to do many things: instructional reintegration, task automation. The list goes on. So this cheat sheet here, I'll leave a link to my QR code that you can be able to get these from, and you can look in your own spare time. So some other tools that you can be able, not just K12, but they're expandable across the variety of institutions, organization. EduAid is up there, Quiz is up there, the Longo is up there, Magic School AI next week. Don't miss out next week because we're going through some of these in depth. Not just videos, but I'll be showing you how to use some of it. So my final takeaway, my final suggestion to you. As educators, we have to lead the future. We have to be the driver of this actual train. These facts you have to keep in mind. Don't outsmart the AI, out-design it. We can. Don't think you can't. Assessment design must be complex, contextual, and be human. That part of it will never die. The human intelligence has to be inherited in all things that we do. So where do we go from here? So the role of teacher colleges are basically future educators. So we're going to look at the vision of what we're going to be doing. Is that once you learn something, it never goes away. So as we pivot to go through many things in this educational sphere, we must look at something. What we learn can be applied across many spheres, and we're able to pivot and learn to improve it better. These 3 questions I leave with you. What are your initial thoughts or reactions to the potential generative AI in your teaching? What is your biggest challenge though? And how can you see it collectively explore, implement AI effectively and ethically in your organization, in your institution? So I leave these and many more with you. Let's learn together. Yes, you want to feel hiring. So this could be you. This is you. So let me, the power of teaching, be able to meet you where you are and take you where you need to go. So contact us today. Information is on the screen. Don't wait. Possibilities. Get in touch with us today. Let's kickstart your journey to a relaxed, exciting, and hiring school year. The power of teaching, where innovation meets reality. Yes, you. So if you scan this QR code here, you should be able to get some, share some resources with you. Tell me what you think. Leave your comments. And surely will have a great time answering. So next week's presentation will be more of looking at the resources. What resources you can use in the classroom to improve what you're doing. So we learned what AI is. We learned how to use it to create assessment. Let's learn how to use the tools, the different types of tools. So tell me, what tools are you looking forward to learn, to using? What AI tools have you been using? Let me know. And let's share the thought together. So I'm basically using many. I think I use about 9, 10 of them in any one spare, but they serve their purpose each time I use them. So join me next week, the 28th. Let me just check my calendar. Next Tuesday, I think I will be not on next Tuesday, but we'll be on the following week. So let me check that and let you know. But you see the invite, and let us brainstorm together how to use AI to make things a little bit more improved and polished. As I said to you before, things are happening. So within next week's session, I shouldn't say class. I'm not teaching now. The next week's session, I'll be speaking on a twofold topic: resources, but I'll be going through some of the little issues and minions of the report that the AI guideline that SACSI put out, and see if I can be able to break it down in my own opinion on what it is to expect. If you have already gone through it and you need a sharpening eye on what it is, you can send me an email. You can actually DM me, or you can contact me. And we can have that fulsome discussion together. So stay curious, stay informed, and keep using AI. Have a good night.